Hello and welcome to If My Feet Could Talk, another episode where I catch up with a guest and we just talk about all sorts of stuff to do with that guest in particular. Thanks to all the great feedback I've been given the last few weeks in regards to the last few episodes. I'm really glad those of you are enjoying it. I enjoy making them and I enjoy speaking to my mates and my guests. And I'm sure you're going to like this one as well. So my next guest is now what am I talking about? Is no stranger to a bit of running. He's a former teacher who quit teaching to go on an adventure of a lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Mr. Aleks Kashefi.
Hold on.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, hey. Knew that was going to bloody happen.
That's all right. It's what
There you go. I don't need to
Technology.
see myself in the corner, do I?
Well, it's fine. It's going on YouTube as well, so it doesn't matter.
Is it? Oh dear.
Some people like to watch two people have a chat. It's weird, you know. So right. So, hello, mate. Welcome to the podcast. How's it going? How have you been?
All right. You know, things are kind of normal. Work on the campsite's just opened. So yeah, busy is what I've been. Gone from 24-hour week to 50-hour week.
So, speaking of that, obviously you just said your campsite's reopened and stuff. How's the lakes been during the lockdown for you?
A bit odd. It's quiet. It's been quiet, but that's because I've stayed away from like the far end of the valley because I'm in Nether Wasdale, and 4 miles that way is base of Scarfell Pike, where everyone goes down, parks up, belts up it, comes down and says, you know, conquered a mountain.
Yeah.
It got as soon as the restrictions on like traveling away from home got lifted, it went bonkers down the valley. There was tents where you wouldn't normally pitch up a tent.
Yeah.
There's tents everywhere, people in vans. The amount of litter just went through the roof. There's burn marks all over the grass from people having barbecues because it's the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And lots of trying to avoid the pitchfork attitude, pitchfork and burning brands.
Yeah,
but at the same time getting
isn't
frustrated with it all.
It is difficult. Like I said, we go on a tangent, but it is difficult because you want people to come because the areas need the money, especially these tourist areas. They need the money.
Yeah.
You know, so like the lakes, Cornwall especially, they need the money. But then you don't want them to come down and destroy what they've come to enjoy, which is, like everyone's forgotten the basic ways of just enjoying places without destroying them. It's mad. It
is mad. It's like they forgot. Don't know. The people who come and enjoy it properly, they treat it as part of like their community.
Yeah.
Whereas the ones that the people that are coming down and they are causing issues with their behaviour and like choices, they're just treating it as a commodity. It's not. It's you know, it's not a land that you live on. It's something there that they have entitlements to use, even if the weather's crap or there's no parking spaces.
Yeah,
they insist that they have to turn up and they have to do this and they have to. So yeah, it's a shame because it just makes you a grumpy old man, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I've seen obviously Wales have now lifted their 5 mile travel, so I can imagine
Yeah.
Snowdonia now being hit exactly the same.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're not. Are English people still allowed to travel into
Yeah,
Wales?
they are now, I believe.
We
Yeah,
are now.
yeah, they've lifted the travel ban. I think that started Monday, so
Right. Okay.
I'll have to speak to my mate who lives up that way and see
See what happens.
how bad
Yeah.
it's gone. Well, but you're surviving, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is good. Um, right. Obviously, some people listen to this probably go, who is this guy? And why have I decided to speak to you? Can you give the listeners and the viewers that watch YouTube a little bit of your background history, where you're from, where did you grow up, stuff like that?
Well, I'm originally from, I guess, from Derby. First part of growing up was in Iran, up until about the age of 9, and then the rest of it was sort of Derby. Went to Derby Uni, bobbed off to Lincoln, and basically eventually ended up back in Derby, and then in Buxton, where I kind of started to actually run,
Yeah,
because I'd done a few weeks of Couch to 5K, so I could actually call it a run as
yeah,
opposed to a 30-minute mile. And then just gone on from there. I quit teach. I ended up running Le Jog as a charity thing, having done a different charity thing before that. Ended up running Land's End to John O'Groats in the 6-week holidays. Got back to work, and I don't know. I guess what I'd experienced and what I went through changed my attitude to life and what I
yeah,
thought was important in terms of getting across to the people I was teaching. So I decided, after some dilly-dally, I decided to run across Europe, and basically quit teaching to go and run across Europe, because there was no other way I could do it in the time I'd have off.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, from there, I've ended up living in Nether Wasdale in the Lake District, which is sort of one of the least built up valleys in the Lake District, working on a campsite with
So
an amazing view.
you said you came from Iran.
Yeah, my dad's Iranian and my mum's Polish.
So what was that? Can you remember what it was like living over there in Iran?
Oh yeah, I can remember what it was like. As a kid, it's pretty much the same as here. The rules were stricter. So like, there was instances where I'd be walking down the street with my mum, and because her hair front, like a fringe, was sticking out from underneath her headscarf, and they could tell that she's not Iranian, they'd basically I suppose it'd be called police, but the sort of like the religious police, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
But they'd pull her off. They'd pull both of us off the footpath, get us in the back of the van, make us sit in the back of the van, while basically it's kind of like, what's the word? Threatening? Is that the right word? So kind of like making you feel threatened.
Yeah.
And then basically telling her off for her hair being out and telling her not to, that's not how it's done here, sort of thing, even though she'd been living there for, God, more than 9 years that I was there. But apart from that, it was all right. It was just what you did as a kid. I used to go down to my parents' farm because my dad's family owned the farm, so we used to go down there a lot. So I was just bimming around on the farm, drinking from the cow troughs, headbutting the cows to see how hard the heads are.
So you moved over here when you were just after 9 years old, was it?
Yeah, around 9 years old,
So,
to avoid not being allowed to leave, because I'd have to go into the army.
yeah.
And my mum didn't want that to happen. So I was born here, which gave me an English passport.
Yeah.
Went over there, and then we'd come back I think it's about every 5 years. I'd end up being back here. So just at the end of age of 4, going on to 5, I was here, and then back again to Iran, and then coming on to 9, back here. And then I was just, I got left here for a year with my gran before my mum came back with my brother, and nobody ever went back, basically.
You settled then. So obviously, growing up in school over here and around, were you a sporty type of kid?
Not really. I played rugby.
Yeah.
in what year? I played rugby till about year 9, if that. Year 7 or 8 even. I used to play tennis when the tennis season was on, but I wasn't really sporty. I was kind of a bit chunky, really, a bit of a fatty.
Right. So you then obviously went on to qualify as a teacher. What did
Yeah,
you used to teach? What was the sort of
I taught science
yeah
with specialism in biology. So I teach biology at sixth form, like A level and
yeah
BTEC level 3. It'll be. Yeah, I sort of roundabout ended up in that when I was 30. So I didn't really start teaching till I was 30 years old. Like, I didn't fully qualify till I was 30. And then I was teaching in a school in Newark at the time. And I used to, well, basically I didn't do any exercise apart from a 4-mile cycle, which was to the train station, to get on the train, to work, and then repeat.
and
That was it. The rest of
and
the time I
until you actually quit teaching, did you enjoy what you were doing with the kids and stuff?
Oh no, I enjoyed the teaching bit.
Yeah,
Like, but there's more to teaching than just teaching them,
yeah,
a subject. So when I started, my brain was, if I'm going to be a good teacher, I should be able to teach anything. And the kids should kind of realize that it's a skill thing that you learn. It doesn't matter the subject, you're learning the skill of actually coming up to some new information or a new task or a new whatever, and then being able to basically get your brain to work out how to do it, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So the subject, yes, the subject's interesting. I do find science interesting, but then I find history interesting, and I find some bits of maths interesting. I really find art interesting and photography and stuff like that. But I wasn't like biology is the way to go. And I ended up teaching, apart from biology and the other 2 sciences, I ended up teaching maths to year 9s for 2 years. And I got sort of middle set naughty kid groups both years as well, which was fun. And I taught home economics, and I ended up teaching IT as well. So I wasn't, yeah, I did enjoy teaching. I didn't enjoy the politics. And
I totally understand where you're from there, because when I qualified as a teacher and I taught my local college,
yeah,
I was doing a different style of teaching, different age group, 6 and 25,
yeah,
different thing. But I love the teaching, the actual developing the young adults to go on
yeah,
to courses or jobs. It was fantastic. I loved that, and I loved the different types of personalities we had, and finding out the best way to make them learn. But I hated the red tape, the politics, the establishment behind teaching, and that put me
yeah,
off working in that industry. It's one of the reasons why I ended up going back into the Navy in the end, because I just didn't like that way. It was all about money, bums on seat, and not about the quality of staff or the quality
yeah,
of students.
yeah,
As in the sports of them. So I fully understand what you're talking about there. It's a shame, because I probably am wasted. My teaching type side of me is probably wasted, and yours obviously became wasted because you decided enough's enough. You know, it's a shame, really, that people like you
yeah.
and me end up feeling that way about the teaching environment.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a good example to the kids that you taught that you're not, it's an example. You get people who leave school, they get into a job, and they are in that job until the day that they leave at retirement age. They've done nothing else in their life but that job, and then whatever they did in the holidays. And one of the things I was trying to get into the kids, which is part of the reason I left and just went, right, well, let's see what happens. As soon as they found out I'd left, they started to ask questions like, what will you do if this happens? So what are you going to do for this? How are you going to do, cope with having less money? How are you going to cope with not having access to a shower or somewhere to sleep? They started to think about what was actually involved and started questioning what they were, setting out for themselves. Like some of the A-level students I taught, one of the ones I saw popped into a pub in Buxton. She was serving in the pub, and I was like, "Oh, how did things go? How come you're still here? Are you at uni or anything?" She turned around and said, sheepishly and a little bit embarrassed, like, she's not gone to uni. She did all right at A-levels. She didn't want to go to uni because she doesn't know what she wants to do. And she's decided to take a year out, save some money working, and then go traveling with that money to find out what she enjoys doing, And I went, that's bloody amazing. That's like probably the best decision you're ever going to make in your life. And you've done it this early on. And then she turned around and said, I thought about this, and you're probably the only teacher I know who would say that to me and actually mean it, and not sort of go on about how it's such a waste of my talent in, history, because she was being pushed to do history at uni, biology at uni, and I can't remember what the subject was, but the other subject at uni. And each teacher was just like, no, you need to go to uni to do this subject because you're really good at it. And it's like, well, you might be good at it, but why are you doing it if you're good at it, but you're not sure you want to do it? That, I think that was the main bit of leaving that had probably more impact on the kids I taught and the kids in my tutor group, because I saw quite a few of them, and they weren't doing what the careers advice person had told them to do. Like, one was in top sets for everything. He was he got himself an apprenticeship to be a mechanic. And I was like, that's amazing. I never saw that coming. I read your careers report and stuff like that. So so some good's come out of it. And to be told I taught, one of them, apparently I taught him more in the years after I left being his tutor than I did in the 4 years being his tutor and also teaching him science. I taught him more about stuff that's important. Yeah, I taught him more about stuff that was important after I'd left than when I was teaching him. It's like, oh yeah, thanks. I saw the funny side of that, because obviously I've done a shy job as a teacher then.
But then, if you've taught him more since, that just goes to show that you weren't a shy teacher. It's just that you have you were better suited at teaching life lessons, maybe.
Yeah. I think, especially after Land's End John O'Groats, well, actually all the way through, because you get those kids or young adults that they're kind of, all right, they struggle with the subject because they don't see the point, or they might not be particularly strong in it. So the behaviour is not great because it's their way of getting control of the classroom and then getting themselves removed. And they tend to be like shunted to the side. So he was always talking about who are the C grade kids who are falling behind that we can push forward, and who are the D grade kids who we can convert, we can win over.
Yeah.
And then all the rest, they go over there, they get nothing special. All of this group, we're going to push and give extra support and push them up a grade band. Why? Because it makes our figures look good.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, what about that kid's well-being? There's a reason that kid gets those grades and behaves the way it does, and it's got nothing to do with their ability or inability to grasp a complicated concept. There's other stuff kicking off, and we're kind of ignoring that and missing it because we either don't have resources or that's not the agenda. So it got me quite upset really over the whole thing. So I just said, I've had enough. It's time to go.
So it was during this point you started your running. You mentioned briefly earlier you started the Couch to 5K.
Yeah.
How was that first few runs for you?
Death. I hated it. I don't like running. Well, I didn't. I do now. I hated it. I could just about manage. In fact, I think I might have cheated on the first 2 sessions where you run for a minute, walk for whatever. I couldn't run for a minute without dying. It didn't feel particularly. I didn't feel like I was doing it right for us either. I just felt like a massive elephant trying to punch holes in the ground with my feet. It was. and embarrassed as well. So I did it at 4 o'clock in the morning when it was pitch black. Nobody could see me then. And yeah, it wasn't nice. It's the worst thing ever.
So why did you feel embarrassed? Because that's normally what maybe a female, we would expect a female to say, and it's unusual for a male to say that sort of thing. Why did you think you were embarrassed?
Why embarrassed?
Yeah.
Exactly the same reason as a female would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
The male might not say it, don't mean he's not embarrassed, though, is he?
I know, and I think this is a quite a point actually. You know,
Yeah.
males don't say things like this enough. You know, we always hear, you know, or we see posts on Facebook, you know, in the running groups, you know, females saying, "Oh, I'm embarrassed to run out and during the daylight, so I run in the evening, etc." But you never see the blokes' egos always take over, don't they? And they don't want people to show their weak, which is why I asked you, because you know you said it. You know, you were embarrassed. There was no reason to be embarrassed, but you felt it. You know,
I was a chunky monkey who couldn't run.
As was I when I started. You know, you know.
Actually, I remembered your. I was thinking of your Insta history, let's call it.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that. I was like, oh no way! This is like that same dude who was like weightlifting, and he was like proper doing power lifts and stuff and random stuff, and I was like, just looking, going, that's bonkers! Look how much he's weightlifting. And the running side wasn't as running based. Your Insta feed, it was all about lifting weights, wasn't it? I'm just like worried I've got the wrong Instagram account.
I was fat. I wasn't lifting weights. You probably
Did you not? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
I'm sure there's a picture of you with a big belt round your waist.
Oh no. I
doing some gym work.
I sort of did a bit of weights prior to actually starting running over 10 years ago, but I never really. I wasn't even on Insta then.
I was going to say maybe the throwbacks. I'm going to go through them and like find them now, post them everywhere.
But I was, you know, a really large bloke, and I did the couch to 5K, and you know, we like you, we started somewhere, you know. So, did you do any races around this point? Did you enter anything?
Well, I can't remember how long in. It was less than a year in, or maybe just over a year in. So basically, the couch to 5K, I upgraded the app to the 10K app. Noticed that it was pretty much the same training, or same app, and same sort of splits for run, walk, but it was longer. So it was let's say it was 8 weeks instead of 4 weeks. So then I downloaded the Couch to Half Marathon version. And I noticed that again it's just slightly longer, so I went, well, screw it, marathon is the furthest anyone can possibly run. I'll download that. So I was working on Couch to Marathon, and before I'd even got near the end, I entered a Nottingham half marathon, ran that with a friend, and then 2 days before Nottingham half marathon, I entered a 50-mile through the night ultra. I hadn't actually run a marathon yet. I hadn't finished the bloody Couch to Marathon app.
Jesus. So you went from couch to 50-mile ultra marathon.
Yeah, by ignoring all the sessions in the later part of the app.
How did that go for you then?
All right. It was there's lots of like I have no idea what I'm doing, because I got a confirmation that I was in the night before the half marathon race, so I turned up to that and I ran that. I think I did it in an hour and 50 something. Ended up getting carried away, running too fast, eating free jelly beans and stuff that people were throwing at me, and drank Lucozade, which made me feel sick. So I finished that, but that suddenly gone from being like the race to do before doing a marathon to it's just become a training run now, because I've got 3 weeks to go from I think max I'd run was 18 miles with a mate on the Monsell Trail. To go from 18 miles 50 miles and know the route and do it through the night, because it's called the Dusk Till Dawn race, which I don't think is on anymore. So I think the first week of training, I just drove out to Castleton, where it started, drove out to Castleton, ran a section to Buxton, which was about 26 miles, really like walked it like the app told me to. And if it was hilly, I'd walk up the hills. And then the day after, I ran a Windgather Fell race, which was 13 miles with 3,000 foot of elevation. I ran that the day after while like playing around with what food to eat. So I ran the Windgather eating dried bacon and just drinking water. It was really good.
Got you out?
Yeah, it did get me around. We've got around quite comfortably as well. We joined up with one of the Buxton runners and we just ran around it having a bit of a laugh. I did the 50 miler, got to the 50 miler. I did what everyone blooming tells you. So like carb up. So I carved up, ate a massive pasta meal for breakfast because it was in the night. I thought plenty of time to digest. I couldn't run after about 10 miles because I really needed a poo. It was like an insistent, it's going to come out of your bum if you run. So I ended up walking for 10 miles to get to the 20-mile checkpoint where the toilet was, popped in. The relief was incredible. And ended up wasting 40 minutes sat in there, just absorbing the ambience of an indoor, eating, drinking coffee, having a bit of a laugh with some of the checkpoint people who I vaguely knew. And then set off again, running with this other fella who I just tagged along with, and he seemed to be happy to go slow. Set off from there, got to mile 30 on Shining Tor. The clouds opened up, the stars were out, and I just like bolted off singing "Oh, I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside," because it was the right sort of tempo to get a decent cadence. And just ran along it. Got to 40-ish miles with the same bloke. He was flagging, and I was like, I'm adamant I'm going to finish before dawn, and left him behind. And I think I got negative splits on that bit. I can't remember how long it took me, but I bolted round the last 10 miles of that race, up over, I've forgotten what it's called, Rush Up Edge, and then Mam Tor, and then down into Castleton, just after bloody dawn. I watched the sun come up on Mam Tor, which was beautiful. Got to near the finish line, pulled out my bottle of beer I'd been carrying around the race, opened it and started drinking and walking over the finish line. It's good, 14 hours something.
From couch to 14 hours, 50 miles with a beer over your hand. I mean, that's a way to do it. You just got to, sometimes you just got to go, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to just do something crazy like that, I mean, I went from couch to marathon and then I went to ultra, but you just skipped past the marathon bit and just nailed it. It's pretty impressive. But then this sort of sums you up, to be honest, because then you decided, during your time in teaching that you needed an adventure, and that brings us on to your Land's End to John O'Groats. Obviously, you ran the difficult way. You went uphill to John O'Groats.
Yeah.
All right. Not the easy way, downhill with the wind behind you. First of all, how did that decision come that you wanted to run the iconic Le Jog or Joggle?
I did a charity run. I needed to do something charity based to basically help out a bunch of kids. I've taken 23 kids, students, to a school in Ghana as a summer trip, like end of term summer trip, where they went and worked on a school, basically installing a water harvesting system, and they needed the cash to pay for the bits and bobs and the labour that was involved. So I posted it on Facebook and said, I need, what can I do to raise money for charity? A friend of mine replied and said, buy a raffle ticket book, find a local hill, sell raffle tickets. So one raffle ticket is £1, but it's a hill rep.
Yeah.
and then do the hill reps. So I was like, oh, this is great. So I created I basically called it Man versus Tickets.
Nice.
There is a hill in Buxton. It's right in the centre. It's like 18 foot up, and I found out it's not 0.1 of a mile. It was meant to be 0.1 of a mile. And then I just sold raffle tickets for a week and a half. I sold 600 and something, 650 odd.
That's a lot.
Before I said, yeah, before I said, I'm not doing any more reps after this because it's going to take me forever and it's not fair on the support. But still, obviously people still donated money and stuff. And then on a Saturday morning at 4 o'clock, I started running these reps. I've missed measured the loop, so it was 0.2 of a mile. So so I was doing way more distance than I was expecting to. It's really disorientating when it's such a short loop.
Yeah.
So like you can't keep count. I'm shit at keeping count anyway, but I couldn't keep count of how many loops I'm doing. And I ran round for what felt like hours, ran past the person keeping count for me. I'm like, how many have I done? And they went, I've never been so heartbroken.
Oh,
Yeah.
I understand that one.
I thought it was at least 5. But yeah, I just carried on belting them out. And during that, there was random people who were like, what you're doing, it's great what you're doing for charity or whatever, and joining in and doing laps with me. Some of the kids at school that I was taking turned up and said, what's it like doing this then? I have no way of, I've been doing it since 4 a.m. It's now 5 p.m. I have no way of explaining to you what it's like. Next thing I know, they're doing their own laps. They did 130 laps of this hill, and they're not runners. They're not, they weren't sporty kids, but they did 130 laps. And when they ran past me, and one of them, I said, "What the hell are you doing?" And they're like, "Well, you couldn't tell us what it was like, so we decided to have a go and see what it's like." And the stuff that was happening during that, and watching, people's attitudes change to doing something stupid, and then the kids realizing that actually that was quite a simple thing, but we've managed to raise $2,000 in this much time. There's a whole bunch of kids that are now inspired to actually get off their asses and do stuff. It was quite inspiring for me. So during that, I was like, I'm not doing anything like this ever again. I want to run from one place to the other and at least see something. So I decided, the idea popped into my head that, I'll have a look at long routes, and the longest, running across England, how far is that? What route could I take? What's the further, why is it Land's End to John O'Groats? Why isn't it from here to here, sort of thing? And that's where it ended up coming about. Just one day, came to Wasdale, actually. First time I'd been in the lakes, at the far end of the valley, went for a run, absolutely epic run, inversion in the valley. So when I was up on top of the sort of 800-meter peaks, I was in the above the clouds, blue sky, and it was mind blowing. And I had to sit down on Scarfell Pike and went, right, get your arse in gear, have a go, see if you can get Land's End John O'Groats done. You could do it in 30, 40, 42 days, which is what I had. In terms of your summer holidays, and decided to raise money for Stroke Association and do it in memory of my granddad, who had recently sort of passed away. So it was, that was the point where I went, well, I'll get it done, see what happens.
You decided, right, I'm going to run from Land's End to John O'Groats. For those that don't know, the main route, it's about 840 odd miles. It's the standard sort of route, isn't it? The record route.
Yeah, the road route.
The record route is about that. Obviously, there's been quite a few different variants of this route, depending on how people want to tackle it. So, how did you carry out the route? Was it the standard route, or did you decide to do a slightly longer, slightly diverted route?
I based it on, I was pretty much following a route by, I want to say Andy Jackson, but I might have got the name of some guy, Andy someone, who's written a book which is End-to-End Trails, Land's End to John O'Groats off-road. And his route is Southwest Coast Path up to Barnstable, where you cut across Exmoor
Yeah.
to Bristol. From there, you go on the Offers Dyke Path before cutting across country, going like, I think you go Cheddar Gorge, but I might have got me like places mixed up. But you go across and end up in the Peak District, all the way to Hebden Bridge before picking up the Pennine Way to Jedburgh, to over the Chevets before cutting off to Jedburgh, and then you go across Scotland to the other side. Which by the time I got to Scotland, by the way, I sacked that route off because I was like, why the hell am I going over to the opposite coast to come back to this coast when I can just run straight up? So when I got to Jedburgh, I took a day off, basically planned the route as quickly up as I could possibly get it, and just pretty much ran in a near on straight line straight up. So I went through Edinburgh, across all the bridges that go across the Firths, then picked up the A9, which is pretty much the only way for you to go. Turned off that to a place called Watton, and from Watton ran to John O'Groats.
And you did it unsupported, so you had no crews meeting you along the way with a van cooking you up meals. You carried all your stuff, and you also did it barefoot. Is that correct?
Yeah. The aim was to do it barefoot or in sandals, and before I started, I decided that if I can do it sort of 70+% barefoot, then I've proved the point that it's possible. Because some people were like, "Yeah, I can't do that. It's not possible to do it that quick." So I carried a pair of just lunar sandals with me, and then pretty much mostly used them in Scotland because I just wanted to get finished because I had to get back to work, and I didn't want to have to think about my feet. I was just thinking about bashing out 40, 50-mile days, day after day, and making sure I'm eating and stuff like that.
So, how did you manage your recovery? Because like you say, you're running, a fair bit of mileage each day off road. So you weren't taking the shortest route by road. You off road every day, so you have to put in a fair bit of mileage, and obviously it's not flat. How did you manage how did you manage your recovery? During that period of traveling up, because you have to have a bit.
Yeah, I had 18-mile recovery days.
Yeah,
where I'd cover 18 miles and have a longer rest. I'd just eat whatever I found, basically. Anything from Scotch eggs to fish and chips to pies, anything that I could get in. Some of the nicest things, like food-wise, were just like I bought a block of cheese and a few tomatoes and sat down and had cheese and tomatoes, and it was blooming amazing. But the thing is, like, I got injured after the first 5 days. I got really bad Achilles tendonitis, and I had tendonitis on the opposite foot where I bashed it. So I had an egg on one foot, which was just like, it wasn't painful, but it creaked, and it affected motion, which is why I ended up with tendonitis as a compensation sort of injury. Yeah. I ended up having 2 days off, and deciding that, if I can walk to the pub, and if I'm going to go home, I'm going to be walking around places, I might as well just walk and find out if I can finish Land's End to John O'Groats and see what happens. A week later, I pretty much recovered, but your body, after doing the first week to 10 days, and this is the bit that's like the trade secret of adventure running when it's more than one day, is get yourself through the first week to 10 days. Don't try and run the same mileage every single day. Like, people say, I'm going to run 35 miles a day. It's like, yeah, but some days you'll want to run more because you can, and other days you'll need to pull back because your body's telling you, I need a break or whatever. So yeah, after the 10 days, your body adapts really quickly, and you can just, as long as you listen to what's going on in terms of, you're feeling tired, you need to lie down to have a sleep, and you're not going gung-ho, I am an adventure crazy man or whatever. And you sit down and sleep, and you sit down and eat, and you drink things like juice and milkshake because you hydrate faster off them than you do water, and you manage your head, which is the main thing, because you can do a 30-mile day. If your trip's 4,000 miles, 30 miles is not far. You might as well not even think about the distance that
So
you're at.
speaking of your head, how did you manage to cope, obviously, during this trip, the loneliness, being by yourself, because you didn't have anyone to bounce off or talk to, chat to, or anything like that. So how was that
Um, I,
mindset?
I sang a lot while I was running.
Yeah.
I think I downloaded Lumineers album, and I just kept listening to that. Really, listen to that, and I'd sing out loud while I was running, which helped me pace myself. Because if I couldn't sing while I was running, I was going too fast,
Yeah.
and I was going to knacker myself. But there's a lot going on, and when you get into doing like a adventure, I call it adventure running, but if you're doing a multi-day run type thing, if you're not thinking, well, that foot there feels a bit sore, maybe it's a thorn or maybe it's a blister coming, so I need to have a quick look at it. My hip's aching because of the way I'm walking, so I need to sort that out. I need to find food, so here's my phone. Let's quickly find out where the nearest shop is. I need to check my route. I need to check water supplies that I'm carrying. I need to find, when you've got all that going on in your head, it's actually quite easy to just bimble along. You just end up in the moment. The other bits and bobs, once you said the ego thing,
Yeah.
once you ditch your ego on one of those things, it becomes so much easier. Like, basically, once you acknowledge that you are completely fragile and not indestructible, you suddenly find it so much easier to go, well, you know what, today I'm only going to do 5 miles, but it's 5 miles closer to where I'm going. Tomorrow, I'm going to aim to do 4 miles an hour. And after 4 miles, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have a break, and then I'm going to plan the next bit of the route, and then I'm going to repeat it over and over again. So you squirrel everything down into small, tiny instances or moments and steps. And as you do that, the more you notice around you. Like on Lands and John O'Groats, going up Wentlock Edge or something it's called.
Yeah.
It's part of some race, I think. But I was going up onto the top of this hill, which is it's called a ridge line or whatever. I think it might have been in Shropshire sort of way, but going up that hill, sort of pushing myself up a muddy footpath, look to the left, and there's 2 deer on a slightly higher lip of this footpath going up the hill with me at the same pace as me. I was like, oh my God, it's like a Disney moment. Tried to sneak my phone out, and as soon as I touched my phone, they buggered off. I was like, oh, well, that moment's with me. I'm going to use that moment, and I'm going to get up this hill. Because it was interesting seeing the way he moved.
Yeah.
They kind of do that with their head and use the momentum of the whole body to get them to step up the hill. But they weren't pushing with their legs. I was like, okay, I'll try not to push with my legs, and I'll try to force my body forwards as opposed to trying to go up, and see how that works. And it worked, actually. It's quite a good way to go uphill. But yeah, there's so much going on when you do it, and you stop doing the ego thing, and I will set an FKT and all that crap. As soon as you stop doing that, the run changes. There's so much stuff going on around you that you don't really feel lonely, because I kind of worked this out later on, that I reckon that you feel at your loneliest when you are either tired, hungry, in pain, and there's no one around you to acknowledge it and try and help you feel better.
Yeah.
And at that point, you feel at your most loneliest. If you're all right for food, if you're all right for drink, if you've managed yourself well enough and you're honest with yourself that if you're tired, it's okay to sit down, then you don't, I don't know, I didn't seem to feel quite as lonely once I did that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So obviously you completed, you got to John O'Groats in the end.
Yeah.
And big celebration, all that sort of stuff. You then made a decision to leave teaching. How hard was that decision to leave teaching?
It's quite difficult, but once I once I realised that by not making the decision to leave teaching, I was kind of doing what the kids do, where you say, you know, you should do this particular challenge, and they put it off. That I was actually telling them to take on the big challenge. Don't worry about the risks.
Yeah.
And I wasn't actually willing to take the risk myself because I was in a comfortable, well-paid job. So yeah, once I decided, which was I think no, it wasn't even February. It was before January of that year of teaching. Once I'd made the decision, it was actually all the rest of it was quite easy. Like I wanted to hand my notice in almost straight away.
Yeah.
And I think on the January of that year, I can't even remember what year it was. It's about 4 years ago now, wasn't it? January of that year, I moved out of the flat that I was living in, got rid of most of my stuff, put the stuff I wanted to keep in storage, converted the back of my Renault estate so I could sleep in it, and moved into that so I could train and afford to go. So it's like, before I even told anyone, I'd made the decision.
At all?
Do I miss it?
Yeah.
Do I miss it at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I do. Yeah, there's bits of it I miss.
Yeah.
And that's why I did a few talks and stuff, because it was almost like teaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've done like the odd one or two guided runs and stuff like that here and there, and they were like teaching as well. So I missed the actual getting someone from not really understanding like a concept, let's say, or a skill, and then getting them from that point, and then getting them to the point where not only do they understand it, they can sort of take it apart and then teach it to another person in the room.
Yeah.
Or explain it in their own way using their own analogies and stuff like that. That's quite a special thing with teaching that I think no one else, actually anyone who teaches anyone anything and sees them progress, it's like the best moment. Whether they say thank you or not, it doesn't matter, because you can see the results. But yeah, after I came back from that long run, I ended up going back into teaching at sixth form, teaching physics as a lecturer. And I'll be honest, I did very little actual, what you'd call traditional teaching.
Yeah.
And lots of, right, you're going to uni, they're going to give you snippets of information. And it's better if you've got the skill to find the information yourself. So I did one session on, okay, so how do we find the information? If we don't understand it, what do we do? You know, how do we go about solving the problems? And then that was it. It's like, right, here's your assignment, off you go. Any questions? Okay, come over, let's have a chat. Right, okay, I could explain it to you, but have a chat with so-and-so over there. They're one step ahead of you, they've got it, they can explain it to you. And, you know, so on and so forth. So I did very little in those lessons, apart from mark their work as they were doing it. And it was good. But, again, after like a week in, I didn't want to stay there permanently. So I didn't renew my contract.
And you then decided to organise another adventure, but it wasn't just any old adventure. You decided to run, probably it's the longest trail in Europe. Is that correct? The E1?
Kinda, yeah. I was looking at running across continents because I've done a country. So the next logical step was run across a continent. America was too big, and it would be too expensive. Africa is way too big. It's
And
bonkers. Yeah. Well, yeah, and hot. I didn't mind hot so much then. So yeah, then someone pinged me the E1 trail, which on a map looked like it went from north to south of Europe.
Yeah.
That was what's his name from Ultra Running Community, Neil Bryant.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure he pinged me that in a message and said, "Have you seen this?" And I looked at him and went, "Oh, there it is, Europe. Why did I think of running Europe? Europe is a continent after all, and it's just there next to it. So I'll have a look at this route." So basically spent a lot of time researching the route, getting information from I think they're called something like the European or International Long Distance Trail Association or something, about this particular route. They sent some info that said, well, the first section has only really just been marked, so it won't be established. And the final section, we've changed our mind where we're going to, they changed their mind whether we're going to end it partway through my planning. It was meant to end at the bottom of Sicily. No, it was meant to end at a place at the top of Sicily, and then they changed it to a place at the bottom of Sicily. I was like, oh, that's even better, because that, I don't have to do anything off piste. I can just follow this trail. But yeah, turns out that wasn't the furthest point south. So the E1 trail kind of morphed into just running Europe from north to south. Partly because of necessity, and the other reason being that I decided I should actually tell people that I made a cock up before I set off, and I knew that.
You started at the most northern point of mainland Norway.
Yeah, which is North
the Arctic Circle. Deep in the Arctic Circle. I've been up that way. It is proper deep as well. To the most southern in Spain.
Yeah, Tarifa.
Yes, and it's
that's
about.
What I should have aimed for.
600 kilometers. Is that right? Roughly.
Yeah, 3,000, not 300. 3,890 something, I think, miles.
So 3,000, just short of 4,000 miles from north to south. There'll be people now listening, and I guarantee it, when I spin my stories about the adventures I've been on, they go, oh, you get the usual, oh, I wouldn't even drive that far. 4,000 miles, from north to south, and you're about to run it solo. Unsupported, barefoot, in your sandals.
Well, in sandals,
in your sandals.
Too cold for barefoot.
When you sat down and looked at the map, what was your first feeling when you've got obviously you got it, north to south, and you measured it out? What was your first feeling when you looked at it? Was it like, oh fuck, or was it, wow, this is mad?
I didn't think it was bonkers, but I did what I did with other stuff, which is chunked it into solvable problems as opposed to trying to comprehend the whole thing. So I ended up getting as much information. I found the website that some guy had mapped sections, so there was some information there. And some friends that I got to help, we went through, and Sophie Rooney, who ran the length of Scandinavia, kind of.
Yeah.
We call it Runavia. So between us, we would research bits of the route, double check the info, see where the food was on the route or along the route, like potential detours to places. And I had it's still online actually. I got a detailed spreadsheet that tells you distances between huts, because there are huts along these trails in Scandinavia that you can just pop into. So distances between huts, potential for resupply of food if you're running out, and how much of a detour they are, where there is food available along the route. Then got on to organising supply drops, so posting myself stuff, like food or different kit, or getting Aleks, who supported it, and Tailwind. They pinged some stuff across to Abisko in Sweden. It's still in the Arctic Circle, but when I arrived there, I went to the post office and I collected like a new waterproof jacket and a fresh pair of leggings, because I'd worn the same leggings for 28 days.
So how long did it take you?
6.5 months. 6.5 months, pretty much.
Yes, because I remember you finishing in like the February, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it's 15th, 16th. I finished. I got to Tarifa on the 14th, I think, and then I had to wait a couple of days before I could access that last little point of land called Punta de Tarifa.
So I remember following you all the way down and what have you. It was pretty epic. And you filmed yourself all the way down as well, didn't you? You
Yeah.
you took a GoPro, filmed yourself all the way down, and
Yep.
there's a fantastic film out made by a mutual French friend of ours. Um,
Yeah. Run Explorer.
yeah,
Guillaume.
if you want to go watch it, go search Run Explorer. He's a fabulous filmmaker, and he put all your films together and made an awesome 40-minute film. So I recommend you go watch that, guys, if you can. What was your favourite country to run through on your way down?
Quite liked all of them for different reasons. Like the far north of Norway, because it was pretty epic. Like some of that, Norwegians are hardcore so and so's. There's bridges to cross rivers. We don't need bridges. We just wade across them in spate or not. There's one footpath in real far Norway. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce the area, but it was really high up. It was about 1,400 meters up or something, and then it's just a cliff face. So you had to zigzag on ledges, and this was the actual footpath. You're zigzagging on ledges to get all the way down to a section where there's a road, and you're thinking, "What the hell is this road?" It was for some hydroelectric stuff that happened to be in that area. And then from there you bimble along, and then you're going back up again off on like just following red painted cairns and stuff. But yeah, I quite liked all of them for different reasons. Like Norway was nice. It was epic. Sweden as well. Just the whole of that Arctic Circle area was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Then sort of bobbing off that trail and heading south on a route I hadn't researched and stuff like that. Like Sweden, I didn't like it to start with because it was bloody freezing and I didn't have kit for that sort of temperature. So I was struggling to stay warm in the middle of the night, not getting much sleep. I was having to think of new ways to use the kit I had and basically researching how to stay warm with what you have, like getting into your emergency bivvy before you put the sleeping bag on and using the bivvy as a vapor barrier so you actually stay warm instead of losing heat from evaporative heat loss. And it also helped sort out my tent because it would be frozen every morning and I'd pack it away frozen. My body heat would warm it up and it would just be soggy wet mess. So it was Sweden was the bit where I learned the most about using my kit. Stopped it because you get so easily chucked into this gung-ho adventure man, ego thing. It's dead easy to fall into the trap of doing it. And it was in Sweden that I just basically managed to let go of it again and say, what am I doing? Who's going to follow an adventure where the guy every day is ruining himself?
Yeah.
How's that inspiration? It's not. It's just, if you like sadism or watching people self-harm, then yeah, great. But it's, this isn't what I'm doing this for. It's not going to inspire. So sack it off and just do 20 miles a day. If you do more, you do more. If you do less, you do less. Doesn't really matter. But the target is, it was 35k a day I came up with. And then just basically researching a route, finding food, and creating the longest shop-to-shop run ever in history. And all co-ops as well.
How did you feel at the end when you got to that final point and it was done? There was no more running to be done at the end of that journey. How did that feel? Did you anticlimax or was it a sense of relief?
I knew it would be an anticlimax because running Lands-en-John O'Groats, it was nice to finish, but there's no fanfare. There was my stepdad, my uncle, and a nice surprise of two friends who I've known for quite a while. I met them in Wales and spent the night with them. But they basically decided we'll go on a road trip and we'll see them at the finish. So they were there, but that was it. There's no fanfare. There's no like round of applause. You're not getting a medal, or a finisher's T-shirt or anything like that. And Europe was going to be even more sort of non-celebratory, if that makes sense. I had a beer, and the bloke that basically the guide who got me access to Punta de Tarifa, which is some old military base.
Yeah.
We whooped really loud, standing on a bit of land that we're not meant to be standing on because it's like blocked off and stuff. We climbed over the fence and we walked out. I did actually think, I could just go back, get the ferry. Africa's 6-ish miles on a ferry. I could just carry on. But at the same time, I was thinking, it's finally done. I want to go and see family because I am missing time that it's quite selfish doing running, really, that long anyway. So I thought it's time I stop being selfish, go home, just spend time with family, make sure they're all right, and I don't know, see what happens next, really, because I didn't have any plans or much money.
Did it take you much time to get running again afterwards?
Properly, I think it actually took me a year to recover properly. In terms of mentally as well as physically. I did go for some runs straight away. Went on one run. I ended up after 3 miles just not being able to stop shaking. Got in a hot bath, did nothing, and ended up just having to get in bed and go to sleep because I don't know, it was bizarre. And after that, I did bits and bobs. But the thing is, I think I've spent so much time running, and running had a different purpose. That I did break my relationship with running when I came back because, well, why am I actually running? Yeah, I enjoy it, but I don't need to run over there. I can walk, or I can just stay here, or I can get to the shop because it's only over there. So yeah, it broke it. I did some races. I did the Lakeland 50. I entered that before I even came back, but I didn't really train for it. I just ran the Lakeland 50. And I think that's the reason I ended up getting to where I am now, which is I'm overweight again. I'm not as fit as I was because I could enter a race and I had enough base to be able to I knew how to get myself round, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would stay inside the comfort zone of knowing, well, if I do this, I know I'll finish. I don't need to push myself. The point is to finish. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's only recently I've actually managed to start proper training.
Yeah, because I've been following your Insta, and back up the fells, up the mountains and what have you. Running 6,000 feet in a 12-mile run, stuff like that, and it's I'm loving it because you do live in a beautiful part of England, beautiful part of the UK. Is there anywhere else in the UK that you may enjoy running just as much as you would do in the lakes?
Oh, just as much?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Wales. I quite like Wales. And I've not really been to much of Scotland. I've ran across it. I've gone across the Cairngorms and stuff, but that was part of Land's End, John O'Groats. So I've not seen the west coast that's got all the epic stuff on, isn't it? Like Fort William side of stuff.
Yeah, that takes you all up to Cape Wrath and stuff.
Yeah. So there's bits there that I'd like to explore, but I think like here, the Lake District, and this is like the magic of the place. You get Scotland, you get Wales, you get a bit of Norway, a bit of Sweden, you get Spain, you get sort of like the Peak District, and further south, like the coastal path along Cornwall and stuff like that. You get absolutely everywhere you could possibly want, and it's all in a really small area. So you can be really greedy with your time or with what you're getting from the day. So like, if I wanted to from here, in 4 miles, I could run out, get a grade 4 scramble, and then run back down again, and go to work.
Yeah.
So I don't have to travel. Like Scotland, the problem with it, I think, is that everything's so bloody far apart. Yeah. Wales is pretty epic, especially the northern side where it's all sort of Crib Goch and some of like the Paddy Buckley round sort of area. But I've got a lot of that here.
Yeah.
So I was
The only
just
thing you
talking about.
don't have there is the coastal path. That's the only thing you don't have.
I do have a coastal path. The
Mm.
coast is 8 miles that way.
Yeah, it's not quite.
It's not. Yeah, it's not Southwest Coast Path.
No.
But I can imitate. I'm not a great lover of the beach. I'm scared of open water. So
But we are lucky, and you'll probably agree that, for such a small country area-wise, we have some of the best trails around
yeah,
on our doorstep, pretty much.
yeah,
Like you said, you can go out your doorstep and you're straight up a climb. I've got the coastal path on my doorstep. I've got Dartmoor, on my doorstep. We're spoiled, really, aren't we, in the UK for?
um, yeah. I think we are. We sport for bloody footpaths as well.
Yeah.
Because like you go abroad, like here in England, pretty much everywhere you go will have a network of footpaths that you can dig out a map, plot yourself a route, and go off and have a bit of an adventure day out. You go abroad, and it's the focus, footpath-wise, the focus is on these point-to-point long-distance trails. Like Sweden has loads of them, but they're all start like the Kungsleden. The Kungsleden starts up in Abisko and it finishes down south somewhere. And then they've got one called the Haga Costa, or the High Coast Trail. That just goes along the sort of, I forgot where it is. It's near Yorkvik, I think. But there's a coastal trail and it just bounces up and down the coast. Kind of hilly, but it's a 60-mile footpath. But then that's it. The rest is just open access land.
Yeah.
Kind of like Scotland. Scotland doesn't really have a massive footpath. So yeah, we are massively spoiled. We can have everything that you see on like a Solomon TV episode, and you can have it fairly, in a fairly small amount of time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But yeah, it's we are spoiled, definitely.
Right.
I think
we're gonna hit some quick fire questions now because we're getting short of time now. So 10 quick fire questions. All right, nice and easy, nothing too strenuous. Question number 1: what's your favourite bit of kit you always take with you on a run?
sandals.
Nice. Your favourite snack you like to take on a run?
Almonds.
Mountain running or fells?
Oh, it's kind of the same,
Sort of, but not. Yeah.
The fell runners I know, they mountain run. Do you mean like trail mountain running?
Yeah, trail mountain. So, like, for instance, the Alps, all that. Fell running.
Yeah, fell running.
Yeah. Okay. Your favourite opera song you like to sing?
Opera?
I've heard you smash out an opera song.
Oh yeah, but they're just they're random objects I find in in an operatic format. Favorite opera? Oh my god!
You have got.
I've been known to sing the advert opera. Yeah. Is it Go Compare?
Nice.
With different words, obviously.
For the listeners, he does belt out a really good opera voice. I can tell. Okay, your favourite drink?
Favorite drink? Heavily sherry cast single malt.
Nice. Okay. Do you prefer having a full beard or a full moustache? Because I've seen you.
I'm quite liking the moustache.
It was pretty epic.
The full beard. It needs too much attention, man. You have to groom it and all sorts of crap, and it's just not worth the hassle just to look, bearded. So yeah, I'm quite liking the tash. It doesn't need any work. It just grows.
If you could run with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, I don't know. There's too many Lakeland legends. I'd like to run with Josh Naylor.
Nice.
Or maybe Billy Bland, but I'd need a translator if it's Josh, because you can't understand the word that man's saying.
I'm sure Google could arrange something. Is there anyone who inspires you?
My grandparents, I
Right.
think, just because they are the Polish generation that was in Poland during the war and were sent to sort of effectively death camps in
Really?
Siberia and then survived that and the conditions they lived in and stuff like that, or had to live in. So yeah, they're especially my gran, a massive inspiration. Like when stuff is getting really, let's say, painful, that she's one of the people that pops into my head.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's got this many collapsed vertebrae. She had a hip operation. She didn't have any painkillers
Yeah.
just because they made her feel sick and she's endured more pain. Like, get on with it. You're not dead.
Yeah.
You've just moved your foot again. Move it again and stop complaining.
Okay. We sort of already touched on this. But favorite place outside the lakes to run?
That is difficult. I would say Wales.
And do you like Marmite? Yes or no?
It's all right.
It's all right. So yeah, you're not a hater.
I
You're
like it. It's it's non offensive. Makes you smell funny after a few days.
It's been absolute pleasure, Alex, to catch up with you. I've been following you now since Dwayne told me about you during one of my epic adventures when I ran from New Forest to Land's End. On the second day, he joined me and he was telling me all about you.
Dwayne Roberts.
Yeah.
Ah.
And that's how I got. That's how I got to know you.
Yeah.
Know about you was through him, and I've been following your epic adventures ever since. And to be fair, they have been one of the inspirations towards my shorter adventures. So I can only say thank you for that because I'm probably not the only person you've inspired to run adventures. There's probably other people out there as well, and it may inspire people now. So on that note, have you got any advice for those looking to go on an adventure?
Yeah. Don't. I've got to word it right. Basically, don't treat the adventure in entirety. Treat it as like one step at a time. Even in the planning, step one, to sort your route out. Sort the small section of route out, then do the next step and so on. So yeah, just learn to let go of the ego, because once you have, the adventure is so much more enjoyable. And give yourself more time than I ever did.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for the invite. It's been a good chat.
Yeah, no, and this is what most of these have been about. It's like a fireside chat, just
yeah.
And also getting other people to hear of the people that we have out as well. Whether it's a mate of mine who's a fireman who likes to run ultras and is dealing with mental health, or whether it's adventure runners like yourself or Mimi Anderson, as I had on in the last episode. It's just getting getting people's names out there so it may inspire, or something we've talked about may help somebody else. So for instance, somebody might be in the same dilemma about their job and now they think, oh, actually he's nailed it. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to change what I'm doing. So that's what this is what we're all about, and it's lovely to chat, and I enjoy it. It's been great. So what I'm going to do, mate, I'm going to pause this recording, and then we'll have a little chat afterwards. But for now, for the podcast, thank you very much, Alex. I'll sign off now. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. See you later.
Thank you. That was Mr. Aleks Kashefi. That was fantastic. Absolutely loved making that, chatting to him, listening to his stories. We could have actually gone on a bit longer, I reckon, and we did afterwards, actually. And then he remembered how he misremembered my Instagram. He sent me a message. Idiot. Anyway, if you really enjoyed that, give us a like, subscribe, all the other good things. All right, give us a review on the podcast streams, etc. If you want to follow Alex, He's on Instagram and Facebook. He has a page on Facebook. It's Aleks. On Instagram, it's Aleks_Kashefi. Aleks Kashefi on Facebook. I'll put the links in the description so you can find him a little bit easier. Check him out. Guy's wonderful. He's got some story, that's for sure. I mean, 4,000 miles from the north to the bottom of Europe. Brilliant. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, on If My Feet Could Talk.